Hi, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and today I'm on the Elizabeth Craft Designs blog with an easy watercolor cactus card using a couple watercolor techniques and the cacti stamps from Elizabeth Craft Designs. So to start off with, I have a piece of Arches hot press watercolor paper cut to 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches, so it is smooth as opposed to textured the way cold press watercolor paper is. And then I have some Brusho watercolor crystals that I'm going to be basically just like sprinkling onto the paper with some water to create this very colorful background. So this would be easy technique number 1, because this is really easy. So I'm just lightly tapping and the color comes out through that hole that I've poked in these bottles from with a push pin. So that first color was sea green, and I'm adding a little bit of turquoise. It doesn't look like a whole lot now, but now I'm going to spray it with more water, and you can see the color sort of start to bloom out from where I have sprinkled it on the paper. And I'm going to add a little more green because I want it mostly green because it is, you know, for cactus. And then I'm going to add a tiny bit of violet here and there, just for a little bit of a color surprise, if you will. And now I'm going to spray this with a whole bunch of water. So as you can see, this is really easy. There's not anything fancy happening or any special technique. And now I'm just going to tilt it a little bit here and there to get the water to run and the color to spread, and grab a paper towel and kind of clean off the excess water that's pooling at the edges, because I don't want it to dry really dark right along the edges. And then I'm going to add some Sunburst Lemon, trying to keep this in a somewhat cactus color scheme. And I'm tapping that mostly over the green to keep it away from the violet. The violet is its complementary color, and if I get too much yellow on it, it turns into mud. And the same will happen with this alizarin crimson, which I added a tiny bit of, and the green. So that's something to keep in mind when you're combining colors like this. You do want to try to avoid combining complementary colors together too much, because you will get mud. Just a little bit of color theory that you may or may not already have known. All right, so you can see I sprayed it with water again, and I tilted it again, and I'm just dabbing up any excess water, and you know, with my paper towel. Always good to have a paper towel handy. And now I'm going to add a little more green, because some of the green has gotten a little bit washed out. Again, spray it with more water. See, again, not a fancy technique. And then I'm just tilting it and spreading it a little bit, and again, dabbing off the excess. And that's basically it for this technique. You just kind of do that over and over until you are happy with what it looks like, and then just set it aside to dry. It's that easy. And see, again, here I'm just sprinkling a little. I think this is green. Yep, a little more green. Blue. No, a little blue, I think, there. And then I'll just, again, let it dry. Now here are the cute stamps. So adorable. So I'm using the sort of bottom cactus there on the right, and I'm going to stamp this onto some Bristol Smooth cardstock using Gina K Black Amalgam ink. It is a brand new ink from her, and it is both Copic and alcohol marker friendly, as well as being waterproof after you heat set it or let it dry for a few minutes. So I'm heat setting it. And that's really nice to have that ability to use for both types of markers. And it's super crisp and dark, so that's really nice. Now I've got a little bit of water, and I've got my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, and this is 47 May Green, and I'm just adding it kind of around the bottom edges, and now I'm just spreading it out with this is like a small detailer brush, just spreading it with the water. And then I'm going to add some 51 Lemon Yellow to highlight it a little bit here and there. And then I'm going to combine 24 Wine Red and 80 Violet on my craft mat, and then dot that in a little bit here and there, kind of around the lower parts of the cactus, to get that like funky sort of red purpley cast that sometimes you get. Now I realize that is mostly on succulents where you see that, but I just love the look of that. I was not going for realism on this cactus at all, so I just decided to add that in. I thought that was kind of cool, and I liked I liked adding in that extra color to the cactus because it makes it a little more interesting looking, and maybe cactus gets that too. I don't know. I'm hardly a cactus expert. But I'm coloring my pot now with 24 Wine Red. You can see I drew it down the left-hand side along the bottom, and then I just spread it with my water, and that takes care of the shading basically all on its own. I tried to add a little of 80 Violet, but it's so wet, it's really not doing anything. And I did color the flowers a little bit with that 24 Wine Red too. And I'm letting the pot dry, and now I'm going to add the ground in. So I've got my 91 light gray, and I'm just drawing it in. And then I'm going to add a little bit of 90 gray, which is much darker. And I'm going to just spread, kind of combine those two with my brush dipped in water, and then sort of spread out the color with the water and the brush. And I'm just finishing coloring in the flowers on the cactus. I'll actually wind up covering up the two main ones with some other flowers, so those aren't super important. I'm adding more red to the pot just because it was kind of washed out. Kind of refreshing my green a little bit more, the 47 May green on the cactus itself. And then I'm going to actually add in a little more of that purpley red color on the body of the cactus too by combining the colors again on the craft mat and spreading them, and then I'm just dabbing it on randomly here and there. So there's no fancy technique happening. I kind of tried to keep it in areas where it seemed like they would be more shaded. So kind of the undersides of the cactus. But that was about it. That was about the fanciest thing about that technique, beyond just coloring a little bit and spreading the color out. So please give that a try. It's super easy. Now I'm saving my Greeting Bloom Where You Were Planted from the Plant, Grow, and Bloom stamp set on some 85-pound white soft finish cardstock, again in the Gina K amalgam ink. And I am going to color in the first letter of each word with the 24 Wine Red and a lot of water. So it really comes out to be kind of a light pink. And the space in the letters is pretty fine, and it's a little tricky. So I did have some bleeding of the color outside the lines of the letters. So I'm going to show you my trick on how I fix that. I've shown this a lot, so if you watch my videos regularly, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't seen it before, this could be a whole new, open up a whole new world for you. I use this with Copic markers and Spectrum Noirs as well. So this is a white glaze pen, and after the paper had dried, I'm going around and just coloring over the areas where the color has spread with my white glaze pen to basically cover it up and essentially erase the color. Now here are my components. So I've got my watercolor panel dried, A2 size top folding card base out of 100-pound white soft finish cardstock. I have die cut out the cactus panel with my stitch circles die set. It's the 5th largest in that set. And then this is the 4th largest in the dotted scallop circles that I've die cut that piece out. And then I die cut the sides of the banner of the greeting with the 2nd largest die in the stitched rectangles die set, so I get a little stitching on the sides of that. And then I did color the 3 flower stamp and die cut that out with the 24 Wine Red, and then I just cut them apart in the middle with my scissors, and then I've added foam tape to the back of those. So I have 3 separate flowers instead of a clump of 3. So I'm adhering the watercolor panel down to the card front with 10mm adhesive. I use 10mm adhesive on all of this. Then I'm going to layer my cactus onto my dark fuchsia soft finish cardstock dotted circle panel. And then I will adhere my greeting down right below that in the center. And my foam tape flowers are going to go in the cactus. I have one, the largest one's going to be like as if the blossom has fallen off the cactus and is sitting by the side of the pot. I just liked having that extra touch, so I added that in, even though that's probably, I don't know, does that mean my cactus is unhealthy? And now I'm taking my Nuvo drops, adding to the centers of the flowers. This is Purple Rain, and I'm connecting the stitched dots on the sides of the label for the effect of like thread. You can also do this with a marker. It works really well with a marker. The Nuvo drops did okay. I also did these colored letters in the greeting. I covered those in Morning Dew Nuvo drops, just clear, just to give them a little dimension. And then I felt like I needed a little extra, so I added 3mm double-sided adhesive tape to the top and bottom edge of the card. And now I'm just removing the backing and covering that in Peony Pink Silk Microfine Glitter, which coordinated really nicely with sort of the pinky red in the cactus and the pot. And tapping off the excess and then burnishing it with my finger to bring out the shine. And once everything was dry, like all the crystal drops were dry, I did wipe the whole thing off with a Swiffer card to take off any excess glitter. And there you get a good look at the watercolor background, and there's a good look at the watercolor coloring on the cactus. You see a little bit of that sort of red purpley tint I have a little bit here and there on the cactus. And both those techniques are really, really easy. If you're intimidated by watercolor, Brusho especially is a super easy way to start and really fun, and you get some cool results with very little effort. And that Cacti set from Krista Snyder and Elizabeth Carson is so adorable. Please check that out. It's just, if you love cactus and succulents, especially now at this sort of time of the year, it's really, really awesome. Here are 2 more videos I've done in the past for Elizabeth's Craft Design, so check those out. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that as well. Thanks and have a great day.